Hello everyone, my name is Jeff Rolka. Thank you for checking out my video. We are doing series this year. It is, well, at least when I'm filming this, it's 2025. And we're doing series. I've been doing series all this year. I would encourage you to check those out. I've been asked to address the aging voice. What happens when we get older? What do we do? How can we continue to improve? How can we maintain our skill set? How can we get the lava lamp to get on board with what's going on over here? Before it was too hot and I left it off. Now it's too cold and it won't do its magic lava thing. Hopefully it will decide to burble up at some point as we get through this. So we're going to talk about the aging voices and what to do for a warm-up for an aging voice. Aging can come for you at any time. It's not just one way or the other. In truth, I think you'll see things change over the years. But before I dive in too deeply, thank you if you have chosen to subscribe. I truly appreciate it. And a big thank you to my Patreon supporters. You truly help me keep this train a-rolling, and I do appreciate your support so very much. So thank you very much for that. Number one, take good care of your body. You cannot swap out your voice like you swap out a guitar or change the strings on your guitar or get your piano tuned, or you fill in the blank with your analogy, your metaphor of choice. Your body is your instrument. You must take care of it. So, eating right, rest, hydration. I said rest, but I might also mention sleep and good sleep hygiene, which I think is more challenging now than ever with mobile devices and such being so prevalent at all times. You have to take good care of yourself. I might also add some amount of exercise, going for a walk, maybe in a green space. That would be lovely too. I realize that this isn't always available, but some type of way of keeping your physical person as healthy as you can be, because it will absolutely impact the performance of your voice, not the least of which will be the energy that you have. If you are just tired all the time, you just don't have the energy, then you may not have the energy available to use those big muscles that we need for subglottic air pressure, for our apagio practice. And that will have a very dramatic effect on how your voice operates. So take really good care of your body. Number two, increased sensitivities. As we age, we can sometimes develop allergies, or allergies that we have can get worse. We have to be sensitive to these things. We have to be on the lookout for them. This comes in the form of noticing trends. So, using myself as an example, I was noticing that I wasn't getting the response at my registration event, at my secondo passaggio, that I had come to expect over the years. This was a couple years ago. It wasn't happening. And I couldn't figure out why. I was maintaining my practice, doing all the things that I would normally do, and it just wasn't working for me. And then I realized that I was eating sriracha with just about every meal. So for those of you that don't know what sriracha is, it's a hot sauce. I am a fan of spicy food, so I like to have a bit of sriracha on just about everything, actually. So anyway, I realized the amount of sriracha that I was using, and so I cut it back. This had never been a problem before. I didn't articulate that. I cut it back, and everything turned out fine. And so now I know I can have a little bit of sriracha, but not so much sriracha. Or if I knew that I wasn't going to be singing in a critical capacity for a time, then maybe I could have it more frequently, but I generally don't do that. Notice these things. You will see trends develop over time, and then you will have to try to figure out what it is that is having the impact on your voice. In this case, it was kind of easy for me. Some things could be more challenging. If you're a coffee drinker, people can develop sensitivities to coffee over time, and the end may at some point come. That's a choice that you have to make. It may mean 5 or 10% vocal performance difference, and if that's not critical to what you're performing in your vocal practice, then maybe it doesn't matter. But if that's what it is, and it's costing you that 5 or 10%, that's keeping you from what you want to sing, then you may have to make a choice there. Number 3, that kind of parlays into number 3, eliminating damaging items. If you smoke, you might want to quit. If you drink alcohol, that too can have a very deleterious effect, not the least of which is on fine motor skill coordination. The thyroarytenoid muscles, the cricothyroid muscles, are really small, and we cannot directly look at them. And we mostly need to conceptualize of the sounds and remember the sensations to recreate the scenario where we get proper usage of them. If you're drinking alcohol, it can make it very difficult to have the kind of coordination and control over those muscles, and that can be troubling. This can get more and more challenging as we age because we tend to get more sensitive to alcohol as we age. And you might have to make a choice there too. Speaking for myself, that was 2015. It's been 10 years since I had a beer or a glass of wine or any of those sorts of things. So I must say, looking back on it all, not a huge sacrifice. And in fact, I kind of wish I would have done that sooner. But that's me. Your mileage may vary. It's up to you. But the important thing is to notice the trends and then make a conscious decision around it. Number 4, notice the changing requirements of your warm-ups. This can come in the form of what it is you're actually warming up with. It can also come in the form of the duration of your warm-ups. For a very long time, I needed not a lot of warming up, but a lot of practice on skills for singing. And then, for a fair amount of time, I needed very little warm-up at all. I could sing almost whatever I wanted, almost from the first, note of the day, and it didn't really matter, unless I was up super early in the morning or something like that. And then it started to swing back, where I needed to warm up for a little bit longer to feel like I was getting the full function of my voice. Nowadays, generally speaking, 20 minutes of vocalizations per day serves me quite well, and then I can work on specific runs or parts or aspects of songs that I'm working on. But that 20 minutes of vocalizations is really quite key to making sure that I'm ready to sing. Additionally, you may find that you need to focus on the specific phrases from the songs that you are working on. In other words, work on the hard parts. This is something that is very common when we're just getting our vocal technique and skills together. We can work on the specific difficult areas to acquire certain skills. For example, registration events. That's a very common one that we work on. You may find that you are returning to those practices. This does really serve two roles, which is one, of course, we learn the part, and two, in using those muscles and in using our voices, we are reinforcing, hopefully, these positive techniques that will continue to serve us as we age. So we're going to notice the changes in how long we require to warm up and what those warm-ups are composed of. Regular vocalizations, like I said for myself, about 20 minutes. And then, in addition, any particular scales, patterns, excerpts from songs, vowel excerpts from songs, and things like that, to make sure that I'm getting what I need in order to execute in the song. Number 5, leverage your skill set. This is also a way of saying, know what you're good at and know what you struggle with. Taking myself by way of example, I didn't have a really great ear training practice for a very long time. And that was a liability. What I did was realize, thankfully, that I could leverage my note reading skills, my ability to read a score and read notes, and also an understanding of what's likely to be coming next at a given point. So for example, my ear training might have been, it was a liability, but it wasn't deficient or anything like that. It just needed development. And as I've practiced that, it's developed. But if I was doing a transcription, for example, and I couldn't exactly hear the bass movement to know exactly what note it had gone to, and this is in a diatonic setting, then I could listen to the chord and say, well, that's a minor chord, and I could hear that the bass went down, so it almost certainly went to the 6th chord. And, 9 times out of 10, that would be correct. Not all the time. And that's where other skills then come in to complement that. And of course, meanwhile, I'm practicing my ear training. So if you don't read music, maybe now is a good time to get started with that. That will help you understand when you're looking at a chart what range you're going to be in. That will inform the warm-up that you do for that song, for that performance. If you don't have an ear training practice, now might be a good time to get started with that too. Solfege is key. It will help you to understand in real time everything that you are hearing and singing. That will in turn inform where you are in your range or where you are likely to be going so that you can be adequately prepared. If you are always getting caught by surprise by the high note, in other words, surprise in terms of your body's physical preparedness for it, that will become more noticeable as we age. It will become more challenging and difficult for us. So ear training can be very, very helpful in that regard. I mentioned this earlier, but you want to prioritize what you are practicing in your practice sessions. If you've got long verses of things that are very easy for you to sing, you don't necessarily need to spend your time on those sections. Work on the hard parts. Work on the big interval, or the part that goes over the break, or the part that you fill in the blank with what is challenging you for that song. Identify the challenges, address them in your practice, and then spend a little time putting it all together. Number 6. I have mentioned this many times. It always bears repeating. Have a daily practice. Whatever you are coming into your aged years with, you want to try and keep that. As we age, it is increasingly difficult to build muscle mass. Thankfully, these muscles are really tiny. So there's not a whole lot of mass to build, really. However, in the core of our bodies, which is what is doing the heavy lifting of supporting, providing subglottic air pressure, engaging with our voices, those big muscles we want to be reasonably well developed in the practice of singing. This doesn't mean you have to walk around with a six-pack or any of that kind of stuff. That's not really necessary. But we do want to have good development and good coordination between those large muscles that are supporting the core of our body and the application at the larynx so that they're working together. We want to develop that coordination. We want to be well developed in that area. To that effect, as I mentioned earlier, 20 minutes for me of vocalization at this time seems to serve me quite well. I have very comfortable, good, full vocal function with that amount of focused, generic vocalization practice. I do cover upper register practice in that when I do that. And I'm all over the place. Like, I go throughout my full range. So that's fine. That is the generic 20 minutes, no matter what, rain or shine, unless I'm sick, that's what I do. And then I go on and, do the other things for whatever repertoire that I need to sing. So have a daily practice. I can't really say it enough. Have a daily practice. Number 7, know your limits. What I mean by that is I know if I have a little extra sriracha, I might have problems. I know that if I have a cup of green tea before I'm going to sing, I am almost certainly going to have problems. Know what is going to compromise your vocal performance and limit it as necessary. So perhaps for your vocal performances, for what you're doing with your singing, it doesn't matter all that much. So fine, carry on. But if you're singing some demanding parts and you know that they're on a Saturday and you know that sleep will really compromise your vocal performance, then maybe don't go out on Friday night. Right? There are going to be some compromises, dare I say some sacrifices that may be required if we wish to maintain a certain level of performance as we develop more sensitivities, as allergies come into play, as we may find that some foods or things that we have enjoyed over the years need to be eliminated in order for us to support our singing practice. We always get to choose. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm telling you what may occur, what to look out for, and what you might have to do about it. Number 8, similar to number 7, be flexible in both your practice and your thinking. A lot of folks will get through their early years without a registration event practice. Being flexible in your practice means that you can try those exercises and develop that skill set so that you have a choice. With a registration event practice, you can choose when to sing over the break, singing with voce piena in testa, for example, or if you really wanted to, having a few phrases where you're belting, but you are balancing things out so that you have enough energy to belt when you wish, then at other times you're singing voce piena in testa. Be flexible also in your thinking about these things. If you are set on just doing it one way, and these things are obviously intertwined, then your thinking on the matter can prevent you from trying the practice, from learning these other skills. Be flexible in your thinking so that you can be flexible in your practice. Finally, number 9, having said all that, if it isn't already obvious, there's not necessarily a vocal warm-up that is absolutely specific to a person who's aging. It all depends on your past experiences and what you're working on, what you're trying to do with your voice. That being said, I'm going to, in the coming weeks, release some warm-ups that are specifically done in mind for vocalists who are aging a little bit, who have perhaps a little bit more aged voices. I will do them similar to the way that I do my own warm-ups. So we're going to spend a little bit more time working through vowel alignment and balance in the so-called regular range of our voices, the thyroarytenoid dominant singing voice, or for mezzos and sopranos in that area right around the primo passaggio. And then we'll move into the upper registers, but for a short period of time. The idea is to make sure that we are sufficiently warmed up, very comfortable, and warmed up in both our voices and our bodies before we then start to sing in the upper register of our voices. As always, I truly hope this helps. If you have questions about any of these matters, put them in the comments below. I will happily answer away. I want to again thank you if you have chosen to subscribe. I really appreciate it. And again, a big thank you to my Patreon supporters. I really appreciate the support. You absolutely keep this train rolling, so thank you for that. Stay tuned for those warm-ups, and until next time, take really good care of your voices, enjoy singing, and hopefully we'll see you again. Bye.